So I'm going to talk about the general overview of the build. So the main highlight, I'd say, of the build is that it gets a ton of damage basically for free. It scales really well with no gear. You could definitely set up a character for like a divine or less. Clear all Ubers. That does highly depend on your skill, obviously, but easily Uber viable on like basically just gear you pick up off the ground. You don't have to do any major crafting. I'd say it's like really good for new players for that fact. You just need to remember to do all the little things as a new player. Like you need to remember to get all your specters, or your one specter, I guess, and a few other things. Remember how you reapply some of your skills. There will be notes in the POB section that'll explain all that. Make sure you check the notes. So, killing bosses quick, fast. This will probably be used in the Uber race on HC. Boss damage, I'd say, is an 8 out of 10. It gets really high, really fast. You can like pretty easily get 10 million, though I've never actually seen anybody go like past 10 million, so it's like, I think it's kind of hard to scale past that point. Like a lot of its damage is just inherent to the skill gem and the way it works with corpse damage. So yeah. As you can see here, this is Uber Cortex. The first Uber Cortex actually ever done in hardcore, done by yours truly. So it was done with Detonate Dead Necro, which is way tankier, but way less damage. Like what you're seeing here is a third of the damage or so, maybe even less than what you'll have on the Elementalist version. So I'd say the Elementalist version is like way more well-rounded. You get a ton of damage, and defense, but it's good enough for sure for defense-wise. So what's cool about the Detonate Dead too is you can cheese a lot of bosses. For like example, Uber Cortex, you can cheese Maven. Because of the way it works with corpses, you pull a corpse. If you get a really big corpse, like you can see it at some points in this video, the mini bosses that spawn, or I guess it's not a mini boss, but just the boss, it spawns multiple. And if you have the big boss corpse and then it spawns the next one, you can detonate the boss corpse and it will just delete it. You can do the same, you'll see the same thing happen in Maven, like with the brain or whatever, when she spawns all the mini map bosses. You blow them up, blow it up on the brain during the phase where all the bosses are going. And it just gets instantly deleted. It's really good at boss fights like that. It is a little difficult to pull off, but I believe in you. So cons of the build, I guess, is 2-button build. If you don't like 2-button builds, you will not like this build. There's quite a few other buttons. You can kind of automate it. You can stick it in like a trigger scepter to cast your Wave of Conviction, your Flame Surge, or Arcanist Brand is the more common thing to do now. You stick your curses in the Arcanist Brand, apply all your curses, Flame Surge, etc. Automate that a little bit, make it a little bit less intensive on the hands. But overall, very well-rounded build. Do not need any sort of expensive gear. It is all rares. Only unique, that is pretty good to have if you're going to do bossing, is a replica Ember Wake. So it'll really reduce your ignite duration, but it'll still be long enough. And using the Defiled Forces node on the tree, your curses will reapply your ignite, so you get a really big ignite. And then it just keeps reapplying with your Arcanist Brand, constantly cursing. Alright, so here's the POB, sitting just over 10 million DPS at the level 91 standard tree. That is with Replica Ember Wake, which is a big boost to your damage. But if you're going to be bossing with that, you're going to need to be using Defiled Forces, so that's like the boss damage, essentially. Without Ember Wake, it will be about 7 million, so still pretty good. But I'll just leave that on since that is ideally what you're using. If I turn Uber on, it will be like a little over 3 million damage. So pretty good. Considering the gear I have on, it's all pretty basic stuff. Nothing insane. You see there? Nothing crazy. So the different trees in the POB. I have leveling trees. I'll go over those real quick in a bit. But I'll go over the end game stuff for now. So here's a tree if you need suppression. This is the tree you should probably use early. Make sure your suppression capped. If you're in hardcore, if you're not in hardcore, you could probably ditch the suppression and just like kind of wing it. The standard tree, you do a little bit more damage. Let me put the there. So you can kind of see the damage difference there. So suppression tree, a little bit more defensive. Make sure you're suppress capped early. Path over down to Mage Bane. I haven't really say you have to do that. So standard tree. Without doing that. Now here's the full boss tree where you click Leech Shade. Make sure you have Defiled Forces on to refresh your ignites and stuff such as that. Back to the standard tree. So for your dex requirement, careful planning is going to be your best friend here. You stick it right here. If you don't have it yet, like early, you're going to have to click these big dex points. You can use practical application. It's a good strength dex and res there. You do need a little bit of strength. Presumably you just get that on your gear. If you don't have it on your gear, you can click that or a big strength node. So if you look at the notes here, bunch of notes here, a lot of good info. If you have any questions, this is where you should look first. I'll try and answer the comments I see that have good questions. Sorry. I'm like dying. Still COVID. Yeah. Skills here. The links are in order of the ones you should use. So this is your 4 link, 5 link, 6 link. Auras. Though for bossing, you should switch out Grace for a Purity. I have that in the notes somewhere there. You will need an unset ring. And then your Arcanist brand links. Molten Shell. Your Divine Blessing. If you get enough Energy Shield, you can drop the Inspiration. Desecrate. Flame Dash, Faster Casting. Infernal Cry. Use this for a little bit extra single target. Leveling skills here. The best way to level is with Rolling Magma, Holy Flame Totem. But it is a little bit more difficult than going to, well, I guess this is the traditional route now, but the little bit older leveling meta, which was Orb of Storm, Stormblast Mine, it's a little bit easier, I think, to use for people. Start with like Freezing Pulse, then when you get Orb Storms, use Stormblast Mine. I think it's a little bit easier to control. With Rolling Magma, you kind of have to make sure you're aiming well. But Rolling Magma, Holy Flame Totem, it's hard to beat the damage you get out of this. And you also have to be applying Flame Wall, so it is a little bit more interactive, and you have to kind of pay attention more. And when you aim Rolling Magma, you have to you don't aim right on the boss, you aim a little bit before the boss to try and get the double tap. But yeah, so if you're kind of worried about that, I'd recommend just leveling to 28 with Orb of Storms and Stormblast Mine until you get Armor Branding, Cremation. And then once you hit the 28, that's when the Cremation starts, and it becomes more of a 2-button build. I mean, you still clear with Armor Brand until you hit like maps. Use Cremation for single target. You can, if you're someone who likes leveling as the build you're gonna play, as Elementalist, you can do that. Like, you can go DD the whole way through. I wouldn't really recommend it. It does like enough damage, but you don't really have much cast speed this early, and yeah. But if you want to do DD first, just make sure you take Shaper of Flames. as your first ascendancy point, which I have it in that way in the POB anyways. I think the Ignite's pretty nice, especially if you put Ignite Prolif in your Armageddon brand. So I guess it's a good way to segue to the ascendancy points. So first slab, I like Shaper of Flames. You can also go Mastermind of Discord. You're just going to have to remember to apply your Wave of Conviction for that extra exposure. Gives you a little bit of mana regen too, which is nice. Second lab is definitely Mastermind. If you want Mastermind first, then you go Shaper of Flames second. Third, Heart of Destruction. If you're in hardcore and you're kind of scared of dying, you can go Bastion of Elements third instead. I'm not really sure which I'll do. I'll probably end up taking Bastion. This also lets you do reflect maps, which can be kind of nice early for progression when you don't have much currency to reroll your maps. And then fourth, Bastion or Heart of Destruction. It is a lot of like up to you how you're feeling. So leveling trees. First one, level 12, you'll head up through here. Grab Firewalker, then grab these nodes. If you want to be a little bit faster and you're not like, you're pretty comfortable with this campaign, you don't think you'll die at all, you don't really need to take, you could drop one of these if you want. I don't really recommend that because it's nice for your stats and res, so, but if you wanted more damage, you could kind of forego these and just put more points in the damage and then head up here and grab these life nodes, but don't really recommend that. Then you head over here, grab EO, head up here, grab these level 49, you'll grab these after that. I'd grab the aura nodes last, head down here, grab Divine Judgment, path up through these life nodes, grab all this stuff. So level 67, the DD swap, you'll end up picking up this fire damage over time though, give some res too. End up picking these fire dot nodes, and then you'll head over to the side of the tree a little bit. Grab EB, the life, this, make sure you have Undertaker for the corpse life, and then this little wheel so you have a little bit more energy shield for EB. And that should pretty much solve your energy shield problems at this point. If it is off, if you are low, like, you want to have at least around 300 energy shield. Anything below 300, even 300 is a little iffy. You gotta make sure you're like pretty decently above 300, like at least 350 probably, to really get the full benefit of the regen and not ever run out if you're spamming abilities. A good craft is on the shield is using the max energy shield craft to get a pretty big flat amount. Early on, you can replace these hybrid armor evasion pieces of gear with evasion energy shield or armor energy shield, whatever you feel like, to boost up your energy shield a little bit. And then once you get enough, you can start using the Divine Blessing, and that is a big boost to your damage. Yeah, so that is the POB. Alright, so start this off. I'm just going to do a quick map to show you what the clear looks like very early in the league on like really terrible gear. I'm not even using a scepter, so the implicit of this wand is completely useless. So ideally I'd use a scepter. You can see all my gear is like not good, just random stuff I picked up while leveling. Show you what the clear is like with nothing. So you just run through and pop everything once and they'll burn to death. You can keep running. I don't even have Vol Detonate dead yet on this character. No Divine Blessing set up. Usually you can just pop the pack once and then keep going, but sometimes you might need to pop it a few times to hit the big corpse. There you go. If your damage is pretty low early, like it can be kind of rough when you first get in the maps. A good trick is you can't do this on every map, but if there's like a rare mob nearby, try pulling it onto the map boss, and then when you kill the rare mob, you'll like one-shot the map boss. It's a good little trick. Or if there's like a unique or a rogue exile, anything like that. It's a good little trick to do.